Hello and welcome to session 4 of Introducing Mindfulness. So last time we talked about wobbling, didn't we? And the fact we all wobble, and we looked at the Weeble, and like the Weeble, we can wobble, but we come back to being okay. So sometimes we have big wobbles, sometimes small wobbles, and mindfulness can help us when we wobble to get back to feeling okay again. We also talked about emotions, didn't we? And feelings. So we had the jar and we realized how many different emotions, feelings, thoughts we have throughout our day. A bit like the weather, and it passes. And mindfulness is about recognizing those feelings and emotions. And if we have an emotion or feeling we don't like, then we can change that, and we can use our mindfulness to improve the way we feel. So today we're going to be learning about a new part of the brain. So before, we talked about the prefrontal cortex, didn't we? And how important it is. And it's like the leader of the brain. It helps us to do really good concentrating, helps us to make good choices so we then can be our best. So I'm going to share my screen with you and show you what we're learning today, our new part of the brain. Okay. So the new part of the brain here, where you can see it in blue, is called the amygdala. So if you follow the line, it's the tiny little part of our brain, and it's sort of located just behind our ears. So maybe just touch behind your ears to help you remember. And let's say that word together. It's quite a tricky one. So let's say amygdala. Amygdala. Wow, you're going to know some impressive words after this. And again, like I said before, you probably know a bit more about your brains than a lot of grown-ups. So we're going to learn about the amygdala today, and they're located behind our ear. Very important part of our brain. So the amygdala is like let's go back. There we go. So the amygdala is a bit like our guard dog. So if the prefrontal cortex is a bit like the leader in charge of our brain, the amygdala is like our guard dog. So our guard dog is always ready, always looking for danger, and it's always on guard to keep us safe, which is amazing. So we have a part of our brain that could save our lives without us even realizing. So when we're in danger, it reacts really quickly and tries to get you out of danger as quickly as possible. So if you are in danger, the amygdala it doesn't think about things. It's not like the prefrontal cortex where you're making good choices and you're concentrating. No, the amygdala is quick and it's fast, and it just reacts to the situation without thinking. And it will make you do one of 3 things. So it will either make you fight, if that's what it thinks you need to do, run away, or freeze. So one of those 3 things, if you are if your body or amygdala kicks in, so maybe your heart gets really fast and you're in that danger, the amygdala will make you do one of these things, which is fight, flight, which is run away, or freeze. So we're going to have a look at some videos now, and there are 3 children here, well, 2 children and an adult, and they are using their amygdalas. Okay, so let's play the first video. See if you can guess which reaction this person has. Okay, so let's watch that again. It's quite quick. So I'll just explain. This is a prank. So some people had gone inside a snowman, and they stayed very still until someone walked past and they moved, and they were watching people's reactions. So let's watch this person's reaction. So I definitely think that person's amygdala told them to fight. They thought they were in danger. This strange snowman started to move, and without thinking, that woman just went to kick it. So that was her fight reaction. So let's have a look at the next one and see what you think this person's doing. So this is on Britain's Got Talent. So let's have a look. So she's singing fine. Obviously nervous on a big stage in front of lots of people. Oh, she's stopped singing now, hasn't she? So that is the freezing. She's just freezing. She tries to keep going. So she got it back together, so that's really good, but let's see if she carries on. No, unfortunately her nerves took over, so she froze. You probably heard of stage fright, and that's what's happened. She's just forgotten her words. Her amygdala's told her she's in such danger because she's obviously feeling so nervous. Her heart's pumping, so her amygdala's made her freeze. She can't really fight her way out of that situation. She didn't want to run away, so her amygdala made her freeze. So we've seen fight and freeze. Let's have a look at this one. So this little boy has a bag of food, which the chickens want, and they're obviously running after him because they want the food. But his amygdala has said, "You're in danger. These chickens are after you. Run for your life." And his prefrontal cortex has stopped working, because if it was working, he'd realised that they want the food. He's in charge of the food. So he is there running for his life. He's obviously crying and quite distressed, but he is just fearful of his life. But look, when he drops the food, that's what the chickens wanted. They didn't want to hurt him. So you can see there 3 examples of when the amygdala kicked in. So we had fight with the girl kicking the snowman and trying to get out of danger that way. We had the boy running away because he thought he was in danger from the chickens. So that's flight. And then we had her name's Holly on stage freezing because she was so nervous. So what we're learning, why we're learning this is so we can recognize when it's happening to us, because our brain doesn't know if you're in real danger, or it might be something like a test at school, or you've got really angry, and then you can lose control. So our amygdala doesn't think about things, it just reacts really quickly. So by doing our mindfulness, we're realizing that we can stop for a moment and then respond to the situation. We can get back in control, we can use our prefrontal cortex, and we can choose how we respond. So maybe in the playground, you've had a big argument, and I've seen it when I've been in playgrounds and schools. Children get really out of control, and that's when fights start. But what they should be doing is stopping for a moment, realizing how angry they're getting, and walking away and taking some deep breaths. So what you can do when you're recognizing that your amygdala is kicking in, first thing you can do is stop for a moment. Just stop what you're doing, pause, put a pause on so that we can make this action. It's a bit like pressing pause button, and then breathe. So we can stop, pause, breathe. And that makes a huge difference. Even in a split second of stopping, we can get our prefrontal cortex back in charge, and we can make better choices. Another thing we can do, which is quite nice, so if you're recognizing your amygdala is kicking in, your heart's pumping, you're breathing quickly and shallow, and you're feeling really agitated or really scared, and you can feel you're starting to lose control, you get your fingers and put them just behind your ear. And it's almost like you're stroking your guard dog. So you're telling it to calm down, taking some deep breaths. And no one could even see. You could just do it with one hand. Someone might not, people can't really even see that, but it's a really nice, calming, soothing thing to do. So you can just take some deep breaths and say in your mind, it's okay. It's almost like you're just comforting your guard dog. You're telling it it's okay. And remember, those deep breaths send the message to your brain that you're fine. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little story about when my amygdala kicked in. So I was on holiday, and I was in an apartment on the ground floor, and it was the middle of the night, and my children were in another room. I was with my husband, and a noise woke us up, and I was half asleep, but I glanced over and I could see a leg coming through the window. So without even thinking, because remember I said the amygdala reacts, it doesn't respond, I was jumped up on the bed. I was ready to fight to protect my children. My heart was going, I was fully ready for a fight. And then I was also shouting, because that would have distracted the person and alerted other people. I didn't think about that. I really didn't think about doing that. It just happened. So my amygdala was ready to save my life if it needed to, protect my children. My husband did the same. We were ready to fight. We were shouting. I'm quite a quiet person, so I was really shocked to have this reaction, but it just did it. And I didn't even think. So, that was really quick. Anyway, it turned out the person coming through the window got the wrong apartment. So you can imagine they thought they were going into their apartment, sneaking in. Maybe they forgot their key, and they had 2 people shouting on the bed. So you can imagine what their amygdala did. Their amygdala made them run away. So they were quickly out there. So although I wasn't in danger, at that point I could have been. There was someone coming into our apartment, and my amygdala kicked in immediately. But sometimes, like I said, our amygdala kicks in when we really don't need it to, when we're about to do a test. And that is the worst time for your amygdala to kick in, isn't it? So you're sitting down, you're a bit nervous, and then suddenly your heart goes, you hold your breath a bit, and your brain thinks, wow, you're in danger here. So we need to make you run away, which you can't during a test, can you really? You can't fight anyone. So often you freeze in a test and you forget everything you've learned. Whereas if we stop and we go, okay, my amygdala is kicking in. I know what I can do. I can stop for a moment, take a pause and take some deep breaths. I can also just sit here and I could stroke my guard dog and say, everything will be fine. And then you can start using your prefrontal cortex and you'll be able to do the test better. Same as going on stage. If you get stage fright, you can't think about your lines or your song you're going to sing. If you're about to do an exam at ballet or take a penalty at football, all these things can kick up your guard dog reaction. But we know what we can do now. We don't need to react to it. We can respond by breathing deeply and telling ourselves it's all fine. So it's a really powerful thing to know that, and to start recognizing when our guard dog's kicking in. And of course, we can do our breathing practices. We've learned counting breath, we've done rocks and socks, we've done finger breathing. All those things will help to calm your guard dog and to tell you it's fine. So your amygdala won't have to kick in. And actually, really fascinating fact here, they have put children who do lots of mindfulness practices into a brain scanning machine, and they have seen that those children have smaller amygdala than normal children because they've learned how to not use it as much. So it doesn't need to be as big. And someone who's scared all the time and on jumping all the time will have quite a big amygdala because it's always being used. So by doing mindfulness, it actually changes your brain. And they've shown that in a brain scanner. It can make your amygdala smaller because you will need, when it's there, you will use it. Like when I was in my apartment or something bad happens, it will just happen. You don't need to worry about it. But when it's happening when it shouldn't, that's not so good. So we can learn to recognize that. So to finish off, we're going to do another breathing practice. And this one's lovely. It's called petal practice. And it's called petal practice because we're imagining our fingers are a bit like the petals of a flower, opening and closing. So we're going to open up our fingers to start with. And as we breathe in, we close our fingers. And when they touch, we take a pause. And as we breathe out, our fingers open like a petal. Again, if we feel ourselves getting anxious, we can do this because it really does help. Helps to calm us down, helps to stop our guard dog becoming in charge. Okay, so let's do it together now. So I think if you close your eyes, it will help you to concentrate really well. So start with your fingers open, closing your eyes, before you start doing anything, just take a deep breath in and out. And this time as you breathe in, closing up your fingers to touch, timing it with your breath. And when you're at the end of your in-breath, take a pause with your fingers touching. And as you breathe out, fingers open really wide. Take a pause, and let's do it one more time, breathing in. Big, deep belly breath, fingers are touching. We take a pause, and as you breathe out, fingers stretch wide open. And open your eyes. So every time you do a breathing practice, even if you do it, we did that twice, and I know I felt calmer afterwards. It doesn't have to be for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You can literally just do it a few times. So today we have learned about a new part of our brain called the amygdala, haven't we, behind our ears? We learned that it's a very, very important part of our brain, and it could actually save your life. We learned that it would make you do 3 things if you were in danger. It would make you fight, make you run away, which is flight, and it would make you freeze. So it would do one of those things. We looked at examples of people doing those things, maybe when they didn't need to. So that shows that our amygdala can kick in when we don't need it to, because it doesn't know if we're in real danger or imagined danger. So being in a test isn't danger to your life, but your amygdala doesn't know that because it just feels you getting so anxious. So our amygdala can save our life, but it also can kick in when we don't want it to, which stops our prefrontal cortex working. So we learned that all the breathing practices we've been learning can really help us to calm our amygdala down. We can give it a little stroke, our guard dog, taking deep breaths. We can do our petal practice. We can think in our head, stop, pause and breathe. Lots of things you can do. So I hope that you have learned lots today, and if you feel that your amygdala is kicking in, have really be aware of that guard dog kicking in, especially at the moment if you're stuck in the house and people are making you really angry. And that's when, with your brothers, sisters or other people around, you can lash out, you can do something silly really, because you're not thinking straight. Your amygdala's kicked in, it's making you fight. So start recognizing that. See if you can notice when that guard dog's starting to get a bit agitated, and then you can start to calm that guard dog down. So have a go at doing your petal breathing and doing stop, pause, and breathe. Have a good week, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye now.